It's that time of year. It's December 14th, and on December 14th of 2008, 10 years ago today, I lost my big brother. I lost my childhood idol. I lost my hero, Mad Dog Mike Bell. A lot of you guys know my brother from Bigger, Stronger, Faster, and what I wanted to show you guys today is I wanted to show you that life goes on. Death is a part of life. It's a very unfortunate part of life, but it does happen. My brother was bipolar. He was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. He also self-medicated, as many people do that suffer from bipolar disorder. If you know somebody, if you have a cousin, an uncle, a mother, a sister, a brother, a friend, reach out to that person, because maybe you can change their fate. Maybe you can still have them here. It really sucks not to have my brother here, but life does go on, and me and my family are pushing forward. We tried everything that we could possibly think of to try to help my brother, and nothing seemed to really work. He did have a big heart. He was a kind person. He didn't mean to be mean. He didn't mean to be crazy at times, but he was bipolar. And then on top of that, he tried to self-medicate, and it didn't work. And it hurt this family very deeply to lose him. So every time this year, I've done it many times over. You guys seen a bunch of these videos now. I've done it almost every single year from his passing. It was on December 13th of 2009 that I ended up setting a lifetime goal of mine. I wanted to break some all-time world records in powerlifting, and I was successful in doing so. And I competed at a USPF competition. I did the biggest bench press in the history of single-ply powerlifting. I ended up breaking the all-time total, and that was a huge deal for me, because growing up, me and my brother's heroes were powerlifters and professional wrestlers. But one in particular was Ed Cohn, and I wanted to be on the map with Ed Cohn, and Ed Cohn had USPF records, and so I wanted to compete in that particular federation. I talked to my brother Mike about it the night before. I think it was Friday night. I told him all these things that I wanted to do, and he said, "Hey, don't get too cocky. Remember, you suck at the deadlift." That's one thing my brother was really gifted at, is he could kick it to you straight. And I said, well, tomorrow I'm not going to suck on a deadlift. I'm going to hit that last deadlift, and I'm going to break that all-time world record total. And I squeaked it out. It was hard. He was right. He was correct. I suck at deadlifting. So that's something I think about every time I try to deadlift. Is I always try to think of my big bro trying to keep me in check.
Mike was, he was the kind of kid that he had to be busy or he'd be bored. And if he was bored, he was difficult to deal with, you know. Like if he was bored, he'd want to be sitting on the riding mower mowing the lawn, and he was too young to be doing stuff like that, you know. But he was always like, "Mike'll do it, okay? Mike'll do it, okay?" Mike was that kind of a kid, you know. He always took as much control as he could of his own life, you know. And so I became of the idea that he was different and he was special, and that he was the type of person who could be a rock star, the type of person who could be an actor or an actress, the type of person who could leave his family and go to another country and start another life, you know, like some people do. Like my grandparents, they came here as immigrants because Italy was such a mess after the war. They just up and came here and started a whole new life. They left their country, they left their home, they left their family, they left everything behind, you know. And Mike, some people would say self-centered, but I say more like he knew himself, you know. He knew what he had to do. He knew the obligations he had to make, and he was willing to make any of the sacrifices that he had to, whether it was working out in the gym, taking steroids, you know, running a mile, or whatever it was. He would do it to get where he wanted to be. And so he had his destiny. It was like written in his brain, or branded into his brain, that's what he was going to do. What I learned from him is that you really can't tell people what to do. I can't make you a math wizard. I can't make Chris a doctor. or a lawyer or whatever. And so just go with the flow. Let them be what they want to be. So I learned a lot from Mike in terms of parenting you two. Because you two were easy, but it wasn't like, gee, I think you should do this, or I think you should do that, or push this or push that on you. I would help you both with things that you had problems with and so on. But, so even when, let's talk about sticking by him, even when he was having problems, we were always there for him. And what happens with that, I'll say this because it's very easy to say stand by people and stuff like that. It's easy to say. It's not easy to do. Because I want to tell you something. The very most important person in your life will wear out their welcome. They will wear out their welcome when they constantly abuse you, they constantly don't listen to you, they constantly won't take your best heartfelt advice, not dominance, not domination, but heartfelt advice. I'm saying this for your good. I'm saying this because I believe you're going down the wrong path. I was really, really sad when Mike died, but I don't remember really crying about it, because the crying that I did was when I'd get the calls at 3 o'clock in the morning that, he went to one of these beer parties and he flipped a car over 35 miles from home. And he's saying, hey, I flipped the car over. I can't get Chris out. Chris is still in the car. It's upside down. The pressure on the seatbelt is so much I can't get him out of the car. And I remember racing down there. And so, I mean, like I said, I don't mean to be cold, but death is just one of those things to me, and I don't mean to minimize life, okay, but, the wind comes and the wind goes. We don't know where the wind comes from, and we don't know where the wind is going. And we don't even care where it came from. We don't care where it's going, okay? But when you're standing in the wind, it has an effect on you. The rain comes, the rain goes. When you're in the rain, you're getting wet. And when the rain goes, you're not wet. Before the rain came, you're not wet. So it has an effect on you. And people's lives have an effect on you. But they came from somewhere and they're going somewhere. When Mike died and we got the news of it, and we moved out here and everything, I was looking for something to do because I wasn't back home in my own environment. And we joined this church and they had a jail ministry. And so all the guys that were in the jail ministry, they're going into jail to preach the gospel to not preach the gospel, but share the gospel with people who are in jail and to try to get them to straighten their life out. And I said, you can't make people straighten their life out. You can only tell them things. So what I would do, and these guys would say, well, I did drugs and I lost my wife and I lost my car and I lost my job and I lost my license and I didn't have that experience. So I'm listening, I'm going in for training and I'm listening to them, what they're talking to these guys about. And I'm like, well, this ain't the right ministry for me because this ain't the right thing. I don't have that experience. I can't say, hey, I recovered from this or I never recovered from anything, And so I would be there and I said to them, look, I can't tell the stories that the other guys that come in here tell you. I can't say I recovered and God helped me get off of drugs or God helped me get off of alcohol or anything like that. I'm here to tell you that there's somebody, you don't have any self-respect or love for yourself. You don't have enough love for yourself to get off of this. Somebody out there loves you. Somebody out there is praying. There's a mom out there. My wife can't come in here and talk about this, but I can come in here and talk about it for her because my son broke her heart. My son took part of her with him. That's the part that makes me sad. I'm not so sad that Mike is gone. I'm sad that what he's done, the impact it's had on you, the impact it's had on Chris, the impact it's had on her. And so I was doing that to go in and say, there's somebody on the outside who loves you more than you love yourself. Every year, our family got together for Thanksgiving. We had a big family, and we'd choose up sides and have what we call the Turkey Bowl, and it was a touch football game. And so Mike would always take the trophy home and stuff like that. So he thought that the losing team should get something, So he made this thing up, which said it's just made out of wood, and it says, "You turkeys lost," and it was supposed to be like,
Well, there's the MVP, and then this went to the worst player on
Yeah,
the worst team.
yeah. This one, we had MVP, and a lot of times it was him or somebody else. You know, sometimes we gave it to an older person like my dad or my sister's husband or something like that. But anyway, he made this thing up, and it's a turkey and with an arrow through its head, and it says, "You turkey is lost," right? And so he made this up, and he couldn't wait to give this to the worst person on the other team, right? And don't you know, his team lost. And everybody thought he should get it. So he ended up taking this home. He was the first winner. And on here it says, Mark, this went on from, I forget, I think this started in November of '81. And so here it is, Mark. It says, in bold print, Mike writes, Mark toasted for 4 TDs. Because Mark was on defense, and everybody kept throwing the ball to whoever he was covering, and that person scored every time. Because Mike always was looking to glorify the worst person in the worst way.
It's okay if it's hard to
Yeah.
get it out. Just do your best.
Daddy and I got that phone call that they say every parent dreads. And I thought when Daddy was talking to Nadine, she was going to say that Mike fell off the wagon because he had been 62 days sober. He gave his life back to God. He was reading his Bible. He told me the day before he passed away that he called me to tell me that he was doing really well, and that me and Daddy were right about God and teaching about God. So the last thing I figured Daddy was going to tell me was that Mike passed away. I thought he was going to say that he fell off the wagon, which would have been bad. But he said, no, it's worse. He's gone. And even though 10 years has gone by, it's a very painful thing for you and for Chris and for us. But before Mike passed away, like over the years, he did income tax with us as well as wrestling and personal training. And we were making a path to try to move to California because Andy kept saying, you guys need to move out here. And Mike said, if you're going to move to California, Mom, move over where Mark is because he has Jake. And so that's what we were planning on. So we started trying to put our business facts together. We had an income tax practice there. So our world just came tumbling down and we didn't know which direction to go in. And I had been praying and Daddy was praying and our church was praying. And I just knew I just needed to be out here by you and by Chris and Jake. And Mike had said one thing that kept going over my head is kids grow really fast, as you know. And I was thinking of Jake just growing up tall like he is. And Quinn was just a thought when Mike, well, no, she was born when Mike was born, but she was just a thought when he told me that. And so we moved out here, and my heart was really for you and for Chris. And so I hate when people say you have other children, because just as you were individual growing up, you're individual as adults. And Mike was certainly different. He took us down paths we didn't expect to go. Fun paths, tough paths, difficult paths, hospitalizations, but lots and lots of fun too, and lots of adventure. He's very adventuresome, very kind-hearted. And we were at Bible study when Mike passed away, and so I had lots of questions for God. Why was I and my husband at a Bible study when my son took his last breath? Because I was there for his first breath. What happened? And there were so many questions about what happened, because the police were like, well, he did addiction before, and I said, but he hasn't done stuff in 62 days. Why can't you investigate that? Why he wanted to donate his organs, and I remembered that, and I was like, can't you look on his license? And they were acting like he wasn't a person. And so in California, Nadine had the rights to all that, and she called them and said that, and they're like, oh, well, it's too late, And that really bothered me, because everything in him was perfect, So he could have helped a lot of other people, and that would have helped me, but I just kept reading the Bible, praying, moving out here, trying to move forward. And I was asking God a lot of questions. I was questioning a lot of things. And then one day, I felt inside me like God was like, your two other boys are not the same as Michael, and he wasn't the same as them. They aren't the same as each other, but they need you. And I was like, I'm a mess. How can I help them? And I felt like I was just hug them, just be there for them. And so we did come together as a family, as hard as it was. And so many people from your gym and from your friendships and from our church, and so many people from Chris's movie, Bigger, Stronger, Faster. Chris was like, Mom, make a Facebook account, because I don't know where people were getting my email, but I was getting emails, I was getting phone calls, I was getting letters, cards. We got like, I don't know, Daddy, Daddy with numbers, he was counting them up. I was like, we have 1,500 cards for Mike and nowhere for people to go in the church for him, And so that helped. So if anybody knows anybody that loses somebody, a phone call, a text, a card, a Facebook, anything you can do, because it means something to somebody. You'll begin to think maybe it was your fault, maybe something you missed or did, but then you'll realize, I think that people just need to give themselves time, because everybody grieves differently, everybody has different strengths, everybody has different friends, but not to stay parked in that grief, because the Bible says there's a time and a season for it. And I don't think that season is the rest of your life, to be so grief-stricken that you can do nothing. And at first, somebody who's listening and they just lost somebody, just take your time, let God begin to work in your life, let friends begin to help you. And if there's a day you want to stay in bed, then stay there, but don't stay there. Don't constantly stay in that mood.
What if you still have somebody? What if they're still around?
If you have someone around, see, we didn't know Mike was bipolar, as you know. And but his behavior sometime would be way up happy, way down sad, but he would try to always cover that up. And I know he was always trying to manage that. So I would say just love him as a brother, as a sister, as a cousin, as an uncle.
Mad Dog. You guys want to talk about Mad Dog? Mad Dog was an awesome guy. He had so much energy all the time. He had so much love for people. He had a lot of friends. He was very popular. He taught me a lot, all growing up, everything that I was into, from Metallica to professional wrestling, you name it. If I was into something, it was because Mad Dog was into it. It was because it was something that he showed me. I remember he showed me Conan the Barbarian, and that sort of set me on a path of wanting to get jacked and tan. I remember Mad Dog was the first one I ever saw do squat 500 pounds in person. When I saw that, I said, I'm going to do that too. And I knew that I was able to do that. And a couple of years later, I was able to squat 500 pounds for 8 reps. And so watching Mad Dog do it was the only reason I did it. So everything that Mark and I have ever gotten into is because of Mike, and everything that we loved was because of Mike. So we grew up as a really tight-knit unit, and losing Mad Dog was like losing a part of our soul. It was tough. And Sorry about that. It's just sometimes it gets hard to talk about because I just wish you could see what Mark did. I just wish you could see what Mark did. Mike was so proud of us. He was so proud of me when I made bigger, stronger, faster. And he was so proud of Mark. But he didn't get to see Mark's success. He never got to see any of this. And that's what really makes me sad every time I think about him. Other than that, I would just have to say he was a great guy, and he's always going to be part of us forever. Man, I'm a pussy.
It's hard to make a video like this. Talking about death is not easy, but hopefully some of you guys learned some things. Hopefully this helps somebody out there. If you know somebody that's sick, if you know somebody that's not doing well mentally, if you know someone that's struggling with drugs, reach out to them. Let them know that you're there. Don't let them walk all over you, because that can happen. As my dad mentioned, they can wear out their welcome. My brother, you know, it would be amazing to still have him around, but he's not here anymore. And I think that one thing that led to his death, he died from a drug overdose. I want to be upfront about that. And he died in a sober living facility in Southern California. Many of you guys seen Bigger, Stronger, Faster, and you kind of know that he was troubled from seeing that movie. But one thing I think he was really troubled by is he worried about how he lived up to other people. He kind of compared himself to other people. He wanted to be great, but it wasn't by his own definition of greatness. I think being great can be maddening at times. I know myself, I've tried like hell when it comes to powerlifting. I've tried like hell when it comes to entrepreneurship. And what I've learned is that being good is good enough. And being good consistently turns into greatness. And that's really truly what you're after. I think for my brother, he was always striving to be great, but he wasn't willing to do the little things that actually truly make you great, that people don't see. It's all those little things behind closed doors that you get done that make you great in the long run. So for those of you out there that are real anxious to get after it and to kick the world in the butt every single day, be a little bit cautious and make sure you're just being a good person. Make sure you're doing the right thing. Make sure that you're doing the right thing consistently over a long period of time, and that good will turn into greatness. You don't have to reach for it. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be something that's out of reach, okay? Hopefully you guys learned from the video. I'm glad my brother Chris chimed in as well. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Mad Dog, I love you. I miss you like hell. Catch you guys later.